Welcome to Mystery with AI, where history isn't just about dates and events, it's about the stories, struggles, and triumphs that built the United States. From the indigenous cultures that thrived here long before European settlers arrived, to the revolution that ignited a nation, and the civil movements that transformed society, we are diving deep into the defining moments and unsung heroes of America's past. If you're fascinated by the tales of visionaries, rebels, and ordinary people who shaped this country, hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey through American history. Indigenous America, pre-1492. Before European exploration, North America was home to diverse indigenous societies. These societies ranged from the Iroquois Confederacy in the northeast to the Navajo and Apache in the southwest. Indigenous nations developed complex societies with social structures, economies, trade networks, and deep spiritual and cultural traditions. Tribes like the Mississippian people, who built mound cities in the southeast, and the ancestral Pueblones in the southwest with their cliff dwellings, reflect the diversity and adaptability of native cultures to varied environments. European exploration and colonization 1492-1607. In 1492, Christopher Columbus's voyage under the Spanish flag marked the beginning of European involvement in the Americas. The Spanish established colonies, particularly in the southwest and Florida, leading to a period of exploration and conquest that would drastically impact indigenous populations through disease, displacement, and conflict. By the early 1600s, other European nations like France and England began establishing their own colonies, particularly in the northeastern part of North America. Colonial America 1607-1776. The first permanent English settlement was founded in Jamestown, Virginia, in 1607. Over the next century, 13 colonies emerged along the Atlantic coast. These colonies were diverse in their origins, religious beliefs, and economies. New England was dominated by Puritan settlements and small farms, while the southern colonies relied heavily on plantation agriculture and enslaved labor to produce tobacco, rice, and later cotton. The colonies enjoyed relative autonomy under British rule but grew increasingly frustrated with British taxes and restrictions, setting the stage for rebellion. 23. The American Revolution 1775-1783. Tensions between Britain and its colonies boiled over with events like the Boston Tea Party and the imposition of harsh British laws. In 1775, fighting broke out between colonial militias and British troops, marking the beginning of the American Revolutionary War. Key figures like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin became leaders in the movement for independence. The Declaration of Independence was adopted on July 4, 1776, proclaiming the colony's intent to form a new nation. The war lasted until 1783, when the Treaty of Paris formally recognized American independence. The early Republican Constitution 1783-1800. The new nation struggled to form a government under the Articles of Confederation, which proved too weak to address national issues effectively. In 1787, delegates met in Philadelphia to draft the U.S. Constitution, creating a federal system with checks and balances. The first 10 amendments, known as the Bill of Rights, were added to protect individual freedoms. In 1789, George Washington became the first president of the United States, and the new government began functioning under the Constitution. This period established foundational laws, structures, and norms for the new republic. Westward expansion and division 1800-1860. The 19th century saw the U.S. grow rapidly in size through acquisitions. Like the Louisiana Purchase, 1803, which doubled the country's territory. The concept of manifest destiny, the belief that Americans were destined to expand westward, fueled migration, displacing indigenous nations and leading to conflicts. Expansion also intensified debates over slavery, with the North becoming more industrialized and the South dependent on enslaved labor for its agricultural economy. Tensions over slavery reached a peak, especially with the addition of new territories and states. The Civil War 1861-1865. The divisive issue of slavery led 11 southern states to secede from the Union in 1860-61, forming the Confederacy. The Civil War ensued, with the North, Union, fighting to preserve the nation and eventually to end slavery. Key battles like Gettysburg and leaders like President Abraham Lincoln shaped the course of the war. In 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring enslaved people in Confederate territories to be free. The Union victory in 1865 marked the end of slavery, and the 13th Amendment abolished it nationwide. Reconstruction and the Gilded Age 1865-1900. After the Civil War, the United States faced the challenge of rebuilding the South and integrating formerly enslaved people into society. The Reconstruction era saw the passage of the 14th and 15th Amendments, which granted citizenship and voting rights to Black Americans. However, the withdrawal of federal troops in 1877 led to the rise of Jim Crow laws in the South, enforcing racial segregation. The latter part of the 19th century, known as the Gilded Age, saw rapid industrialization, urbanization, and economic growth, though often at the cost of labor exploitation and inequality. America as a world power 1900-1945. The early 20th century saw America emerge as an industrial and military power. The US joined World War I in 1917, helping to tip the balance in favor of the Allies. After the war, the country experienced the Roaring Twenties, a decade of prosperity and cultural change, followed by the Great Depression in 1929, which caused widespread poverty and unemployment. Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal programs aimed to revive the economy. World War II broke out in 1939, and after the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the US entered the war, playing a crucial role in the Allied victory. The Cold War era 1945-1991. Following World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, leading to a tense ideological conflict known as the Cold War. This era included the nuclear arms race, the Korean and Vietnam Wars, and domestic fears of communism. The civil rights movement, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., sought to end racial segregation and discrimination, achieving major legal victories with the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act. The Cold War ended with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, leaving the US as the world's dominant superpower. The modern era 1991 to present. Since the end of the Cold War, America has faced new challenges and transformations. The 9/11 terrorist attacks in 2001 led to wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and a new focus on counterterrorism. The early 21st century also saw rapid technological advances, economic shifts, and social changes, including the election of the first black president, Barack Obama, in 2008. Recently, political polarization, climate change, and global health issues have shaped American society and policies. Despite challenges, the US remains a central figure on the global stage, symbolizing democracy, resilience, and innovation. This overview provides a broad perspective on key events that have shaped the history of America, illustrating the country's journey through conflict, growth, and transformation. For further detail on each period, you might consider diving into dedicated studies or specific resources, as American history is incredibly rich and complex. Thanks for joining us on this journey through America's past. From its earliest days to the present, every story adds a new layer to our understanding of this nation. If you enjoyed today's exploration and want to learn more about the people, events, and ideas that shaped the United States, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. That way, you won't miss any of our upcoming episodes. And as always, feel free to drop your thoughts or any questions in the comments below. We love hearing from you, and your input guides our journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep uncovering the fascinating history of America.